AITA for not helping my jailed brother after he wronged my girlfriend? I, a 31-year-old man, grew up with my little brother Ryan, 28, in a typical middle-class Minnesota neighborhood where everyone had a well-kept lawn, but nobody really knew what went on behind closed doors. My parents run a successful real estate agency together. My dad handles sales, my mom does marketing and paperwork. They make a good living, but they have always been morbidly obsessed with appearances. The kind who would rather die than let the neighbors know there is the slightest problem in their perfect little family. Ryan is 3 years younger than me, and I still remember the day they brought him home from the hospital. That was the day I ceased to exist in their eyes. Everything became centered around Ryan, his grades, his sports activities, his potential. My mom would interrupt me mid-sentence if Ryan needed anything. Literally, my dad was no better. He would cancel our plans in a snap if Ryan wanted to play catch. Growing up, there were so many red flags about Ryan that my parents simply chose to ignore. When I was 9 and he was 6, I had been saving my allowance for about 6 months to buy a game console I absolutely wanted. My parents refused to buy it for me directly, claiming I needed to learn the value of money. But one day, I invited some friends over. I didn't want them to touch it because I had just bought it with my own money. The next morning, I found it smashed to pieces. When I showed it to my parents, my mom just sighed and said, "Well, you should have shared with your brother. You know how he gets when he is upset." And that weekend, they bought Ryan his own console, better than mine, to avoid further arguments. Mine was never replaced. I just had to watch Ryan play with his. This kind of stuff happened all the time. As a teenager, I had a hamster I adored. Ryan gave him chocolate one day while I was at soccer practice, knowing very well it would cause a serious health problem for him. When I found the little guy had passed away and confronted Ryan, he just shrugged. It was just a stupid rat anyway. My parents told me I shouldn't have pets if I wasn't able to take care of them properly, as if it was my fault. The worst part about Ryan was that in the eyes of others, he was a great and charming guy. He would help an old lady by mowing her lawn or help someone carry their groceries, but only if someone was watching. Behind closed doors, he was a completely different person. He often said, "Mom and Dad will always believe me before you," with that smile that never reached his eyes. And he was right every time. In high school, I finally had a girlfriend I really liked. After about 6 months, she dumped me abruptly. I later learned that Ryan had told her and all her friends that I was cheating on her with a girl from another high school. Completely false, but everyone believed him because Ryan was so nice. My parents even said he was being protective of her. Seriously, what was that about? By our 20s, I had already moved out. Ryan still lived with our parents, worked with my dad at the agency, drove a car they bought him, and was treated like a prince. Every girlfriend I introduced to my family became a target for Ryan's thoughtfulness. He convinced one girl's parents they should worry because I had a gambling problem and told another I was emotionally difficult. My parents always backed him up, and I still looked like the bad guy. Then I met Sophia at the hospital cafeteria. I was there visiting a friend who just had appendicitis surgery, and she was on break from her pediatric nurse shift. We started chatting about the awful hospital coffee, and something clicked between us. She is smart, caring, and even laughs at my lame jokes. For the first time, I felt like I found someone who saw me for who I am and not the failed version of me that Ryan had fabricated. I kept Sophia away from my family for 3 months. I flat out refused to introduce her to them. At first, she thought it was weird, but I eventually told her everything about Ryan, the whole story, all the difficult things he had done. I wanted her to know exactly what she was getting into. But Sophia has this darn flaw of always wanting to see the best in people. "Maybe he has changed," she kept repeating. "We are all adults now, and I would like to meet your parents." She had this theory that family relationships can heal over time. I wanted to believe that Ryan might have outgrown this need to destroy everything that brings me happiness. And I also wondered if I was not making things worse by keeping Sophia a secret. Maybe Ryan would respect my boundaries now that we were older. Maybe hiding her made her more attractive to his sick mind. So, against my better judgment, I agreed to bring Sophia to a family dinner at my parents' house. I figured a public setting with everyone there would keep him in check. I promised myself I would never leave her alone with him. Not for a minute. I was so nervous on the way there that my knee kept bouncing. Sophia put her hand on it, giving me a reassuring smile. "It's going to be fine." I nodded, but inside I was thinking, "You have no idea what we are walking into." From the moment, And I mean the exact moment Sophia walked through the door, I saw the shift in Ryan's eyes. It was subtle, but I knew that look. A gleam of hunger before he put his usual charming mask back on. He almost shoved our mom out of the way to be the first to hug Sophia, and the embrace lasted way too long. Sophia physically had to step back. My mom said, "Ryan, let her breathe." But she laughed like it was cute. My dad smiled proudly, glad to see Ryan being so welcoming. It was like I did not exist. During dinner, I did not take my eyes off him. He found 1,000 excuses to make contact with Sophia by passing her the salt. His fingers brushed hers when reaching for the breadbasket, when he could have just asked for it to be passed, and so on. He also told supposedly funny stories about me that just served to humiliate me. Did Caleb tell you about the time he asked Jessica Miller to the prom? Without letting me interject, he went on. He practiced for weeks in front of the mirror, and when he finally went for it, he was so nervous he threw up on her shoes. Poor Jessica ran away, and Caleb was vomit boy for the rest of the year. Of course, he forgot to mention that I had food poisoning that day and that the only reason I went to school was because Ryan had told Jessica to meet me at a specific time, knowing I was sick. He orchestrated the whole thing to humiliate me, and my parents laughed like it was the funniest story in the world. "Oh, Caleb was always so nervous around girls," my mom added. Sophia shot me a sympathetic look and tried to change the subject, but Ryan was not done. The worst happened at dessert. Ryan ended up sitting next to Sophia when he had been on the other side of the table the whole meal. He literally switched seats when my mom brought out the pie. Then he tried to feed her a bite with his fork, staring at her like in a romantic movie. Sophia turned her head, but he kept the fork suspended until she clearly had to say, "No thank you." I pretended to ignore it so as not to ruin the evening. After the meal, Sophia offered to help clean up. She is thoughtful like that. While I was helping my dad move boxes in the garage, I realized I had been out of the kitchen for too long. I rushed back and found Ryan way too close to Sophia, leaning against the counter, almost blocking her path. "Caleb has always been the safe choice," he was saying in a low voice. "But have you not ever wondered what it would be like with someone who could really get your attention?" Sophia was cornered against the sink. "I already asked you twice to back up," she replied firmly, but I could hear the tension in her voice. When she saw me, the relief on her face made me want to smash everything. Ryan just laughed when he saw me, patting my shoulder. "Your girlfriend is way too serious, man. Tell her to loosen up." I had my fist ready to fly, but I did not want to cause a scene in front of Sophia. I just put my arm around her and said we had to go. In the car, Sophia stayed silent for a long time. I glanced at her occasionally, waiting for her to speak. Finally, she took a deep breath. "Your brother is not how I imagined him," she said carefully. "Deliberate?" I asked. "Yes. The way you talked about him, I expected someone overtly aggressive or mean. But he is subtle. Each of those actions taken separately seems innocent, but put together." She shook her head. "I understand why your parents do not see anything. He is good at making it all look normal." I gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. "I am sorry. I should not have brought you there." "No. I needed to see that," Sophia replied, looking out the window. "The way your parents let him behave like that explains a lot about what you went through." I wanted to turn around and confront Ryan directly, tell him to stay away from Sophia, but I had been down that road before. Confronting Ryan directly just gives him ammunition. He twists everything, makes me look crazy or jealous, and my parents always take his side. "We will just avoid seeing them for a while," I suggested. "We will make excuses for family dinners." Sophia nodded, looking distracted. "That is probably best." But I had a gut feeling Ryan would not let it go. All my girlfriends had been potential targets for him, but with Sophia, it was different. The way he looked at her was not just to hurt me anymore. He wanted her for himself, and Ryan always got what he wanted. My parents had made sure of that our entire lives. Things got worse after that dinner. It all started about 3 days later. Sophia was getting ready for her morning shift at the hospital when her phone rang with an unknown number. When she answered, there was only heavy breathing. Then they hung up. She chalked it up to a wrong number or a spam call. Later that day, another call, again from an unknown number. This time, a man's voice said, "You are not as great as Ryan said, still just as uptight though." Then he hung up. Sophia told me about it that night, visibly uncomfortable. "It is weird, they know my name." I immediately thought of Ryan, but I did not want to jump to conclusions too quickly. It could be some creep from the hospital or something else. But by the end of the week, Sophia had already blocked 6 different numbers. The voicemails were getting more specific, mentioning things like, "Nice blue uniform today," or "I saw you at Kroger buying your health food." Someone was watching her, that was for sure. I listened to a voicemail and recognized the voice immediately. Kyle, Ryan's best friend since high school. The same jerk who helped spread rumors about me back then. The same guy who still follows Ryan around like he is a god. "It is your brother behind this," Sophia said, showing me a new text that had just arrived. "Playing hard to get is cute, but it is getting boring. You know you would rather be with a real man than his loser brother." I felt that familiar old rage rising, the same as all the times Ryan had messed everything up and gotten away with it. But this time was different. It was not just about me anymore. Sophia did not deserve this. She had started checking her rearview mirror on her way home from work, calling me when she finished late, jumping at every notification on her phone. The strong, confident woman I fell in love with was slowly being chipped away, and I knew exactly who was responsible. I was not going to let this happen. Without warning Sophia, I texted Ryan. "Meet me at Keller Park in an hour." No excuses. I expected him to ignore me, but he replied almost instantly. "Well, you seem serious. All right, big brother. Let's talk." When I arrived at the mostly empty parking lot, Ryan was already there, leaning against his car, arms crossed, as smug as ever. "Wow, a dramatic meeting at the park," he said as he saw me get out of my car. "I did not think you had it in you, Caleb." I walked right up to him, face to face. "You stay away from Sophia. You and your little flunkies." Ryan snickered, shaking his head. "God, you are so predictable. Always playing the protective boyfriend. Tell me, does she even like it? Or is she just waiting for someone with a bit more confidence?" Before he could say another word, I grabbed the front of his shirt and slammed him hard against his car. His smile faltered for a fraction of a second, replaced by something colder. "This is not high school anymore, Ryan," I said. "Your sick little games are over. If you even dare lay eyes on Sophia again, I swear you will regret it." Ryan tilted his head, studied me, and then burst into a mocking laugh. "Whoa, I almost believe you." I pushed him again, harder this time. "Try me." For the first time in his life, Ryan did not have a ready comeback. His arrogant mask slipped for a second. Then, like flipping a switch, he started smiling again, smoothing his shirt as if nothing had rattled him. "Jesus, Caleb, relax. It is just a joke." I stepped back, shaking my head. "You do not know what fun is, Ryan. All you know is destroying people. But Sophia, you do not touch her. Not now, not ever." I started to walk away, but his voice froze me. I knew he was not going to stop. I saw it in his eyes. To him, it was just a game. A game he had no intention of losing. As I expected, things got worse. Kyle and another buddy of Ryan's, a meathead named Brad, started hanging around the hospital. They would sit in the pediatric ward waiting room for hours, never seeing any patients, just to watch Sophia work. When her supervisor asked if they needed help, they would say they were waiting for someone or visiting a relative. Sophia was starting to have anxiety before her shifts. "I feel like I am being hunted," she told me one night. The fear in her eyes made me want to burn my brother's world to the ground. The breaking point came about 3 weeks after the dinner. Sophia called me at 11:30 p.m., her voice trembling so much I could barely understand her. "Someone is following me. I am in my car in the hospital parking lot, but I am afraid to drive home. Caleb, I am scared." I grabbed my keys without thinking. "Lock the doors. I am on my way." Speeding toward the hospital, my mind was racing. Her next shift started in 8 hours. If she missed it because of this harassment, she risked losing the job she loved. Her supervisor had already noticed a drop in performance. Last week, she had been late twice, unable to sleep due to anxiety. We had days, not weeks, before her entire career went off the rails. When I got to the parking lot, I found Sophia huddled in her car, doors locked, constantly checking her mirrors. Brad's old Jeep was parked 2 spots away, engine still warm. That coward had taken off when he saw my car pull up. Sophia was shaking when she got into the passenger side of my car. I drove her car home, while a buddy followed us to make sure we were not being tailed. That night, as Sophia finally fell asleep exhausted, I made my decision. I could not wait any longer to confront Ryan in front of my parents, hoping they would control this circus. It had to stop before Sophia lost everything. The next morning, I gathered all the evidence, call logs, screenshots of texts, and hospital security videos showing Kyle and Brad lurking around for hours. I drove to my parents' house, knowing Ryan would be there before heading to work with my dad. He was eating cereal and scrolling on his phone when I walked in without knocking. My mom started saying I should call before coming over, but I ignored her. I put my phone on the table in front of Ryan and played one of the voicemails. "We know what time you get off, Sophia. Maybe you should not walk to your car alone." Ryan looked up from his bowl of Captain Crunch with polite interest, as if I were showing him a vaguely amusing TikTok video. "What is this supposed to be?" "Cut the crap, Ryan. I know it is Kyle and Brad. Tell them to stop right now." His expression did not change. That was what always made him dangerous, the disconnect between the venom of his words and his relaxed face. Maybe if Sophia was not such a tease, guys would not need to remind her she is not all that special, he said calmly, taking another spoonful of cereal. "It is not my fault she sends mixed signals." Something inside me snapped. 28 years of swallowing my anger, playing the reasonable one, letting him get away with every dirty trick. It all poured out at once. I did not think. I did not hesitate. My fist connected with his face, the impact echoing in the room. Ryan's head snapped back so violently, he almost tipped over in his chair. Milk, spit, and blood went across the table. A deep gash split his already swelling lip, and his nose looked seriously injured as blood poured down his chin. For the first time in his miserable life, I saw something new in his eyes, fear. Then he started screaming, wailing as if I had caused him a much more severe injury than I had. The little brat collapsed on the floor, holding his face, rolling around like he was dying. My parents came running right on cue, as expected. Same script, same nonsense for years, just another day. "Oh my God, my baby." My mom dropped to her knees, hands shaking, grabbing a kitchen towel and pressing it against Ryan's face. "What is wrong with you, Caleb?" my dad roared, storming toward me, his face red with fury. "You are completely out of your mind. You need help. Your jealousy issues are out of control." Jealousy. I stared at him, breathing heavily, my fists still clenched. They were not looking at me. They never had. They were fawning over their golden boy, their broken little monster, as always. And for the first time, I saw them for who they truly were: blind, weak, useless. I tried to show them the evidence on my phone, but they did not care. They did not even ask why I had hit him. "Sophia has been throwing herself at him for weeks," my mom spat, her arm around Ryan like a shield, as if he were the victim here. "What did you expect him to do, Caleb?" she sneered. "You bring a pretty girl home, and you think Ryan will not notice her? Please." She teased him, flirted with him, played her little games. And now what? You cannot handle a little competition, so you make up these pathetic stories. Competition? I could not believe my ears. He is harassing her. His buddies are following her to work. She is terrified. "Get out of this house," my dad said in a low, dangerous voice. "Do not come back until you get professional help and apologize to your brother." I looked at Ryan, still playing the victim while our mother coddled him, but his eyes told the real story. That same arrogant satisfaction I had seen my whole life when he got away with things. He thought he had won again. Driving back, my hands were still shaking from the adrenaline. I called Sophia to tell her what happened. "So, they did not believe you?" she asked without real surprise. They did not even look at the evidence. They immediately jumped to his defense. She could not believe it. I hung up. My mind was racing. What to do to protect her from my own brother? When I got home, I found her sitting on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, hands gripping her sweater as if it were the only thing keeping her together. Her voice was weak when she finally spoke. "Caleb, it is not going to stop, is it?" I did not lie to her. I could not. I ran a hand through my hair, exhaling slowly before looking deep into her eyes. "I do not think so. As long as Ryan is obsessed with you," my jaw clenched. "And as long as my parents feed his delusions." She swallowed hard, looking away, her fingers tightening even more. Seeing her like that, terrified of my own family, made me feel like everything was my fault, and it hurt me deeply. I walked over, gently lifting her chin so she had no choice but to look at me. "Listen to me closely, baby. I do not care what it takes. I do not care what I have to do. He will never touch you. He will never take you from me. I will always protect you." She looked up at me, and something shifted in her expression. Then she threw herself into my arms, clinging to me as if I were the only solid thing in her world. I felt her trembling, her shaky breath against my neck. She wanted to believe me. I needed her to believe me. But deep down, I knew the truth. It was not over, not by a long shot. That night, we stopped waiting for the inevitable and started preparing for war. I installed cameras, reinforced the locks, and made sure no one could get near her without me knowing. Sophia called her lawyer friend and started the process for restraining orders. We were no longer just playing defense, we were going on the attack. Ryan had taken everything from me since the day he was born. My childhood, my dignity, my peace. But Sophia was mine, and this time I would not back down. About a week after confronting him, my mom started bombarding me with messages, a score of them, saying Ryan was upset by the misunderstanding and wanted to apologize. He wanted to fix everything. She kept using words like family healing and turning the page on this ugliness. When I mentioned it to Sophia, she immediately said, "Do not go. It smells like a trap." And I knew she was right. Of course she was right. But I also knew something else, something I could not ignore. If I did not go, Ryan would think I was afraid of him. He would think he won. That is how Ryan's mind worked. If you back down, if you step aside, it is his green light to hit harder, dig deeper, and destroy more. And I refused to give him that satisfaction. It was not to fix anything. It was not for reconciliation or forgiveness. It was to show once and for all where I stood. We will go together, I decided. At the first sign of anything sketchy, we leave. Promise. Walking in, the house was packed. My parents, Ryan, my aunt, and my uncle who had always treated Ryan like he walked on water. And worst of all, Kyle and Brad, the same jerks who had followed Sophia at the hospital. What the hell is this? I demanded, instinctively putting an arm around Sophia to protect her. We are here to help you and Sophia through this situation, my mom said in that fake therapist voice that made me want to throw up. What followed was 2 hours of the most vicious gaslighting I had ever seen. They took turns explaining that Sophia had obviously flirted with Ryan at the dinner, that she must have encouraged him, and then panicked thinking I might find out, that the hospital visits were innocent, and that Sophia was getting paranoid from working too many night shifts. Ryan played his part perfectly, looking hurt, saying how much he had looked forward to welcoming Sophia into the family. Kyle even had the nerve to describe how Sophia dressed on certain days at work, and my parents nodded as if that proved she was seeking attention rather than being harassed. I saw Sophia's face go pale as they methodically tried to make her doubt her own reality. When Brad started describing exactly which hallway she took on Tuesday, proving he had followed her, Sophia's breathing changed. She was starting to have a panic attack. "We need to leave," I said, helping her stand up. My mom grabbed my arm. "Caleb, it is time to choose your real family, or this girl who is clearly trying to tear us apart." I looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time in my life. Sophia is my family now. And if you cannot see what Ryan is doing, that is your problem. The next day, Sophia's supervisor called her into her office, her face already tense. "Some concerns have been raised." She began carefully, as if she did not want to say the words. "About you causing drama at work." It was Ryan. Someone had spread rumors, whispers saying Sophia had mental health issues, that she could not be trusted, that she supposedly had a history of making false accusations against men. Pure poison, carefully distilled. She had 3 days to decide, accept a transfer to another department or face a formal review. The job she loved, the kids she cared for, Ryan was taking it all away, just like he always did. That night, as we sat in silence at the kitchen table, a notification popped up on Sophia's laptop. A message from a former colleague, a job posting, a fresh start at a hospital about 300 miles away. Sophia read the offer letter, her fingers hovering over the touchpad. She did not look up when she spoke. "He is not going to stop, is he?" I knew he would not, but I did not tell her that. I simply made the decision. "We are leaving." Her eyes shot up. "We are not letting him control our lives anymore, Sophia. We are never giving him the chance to twist the knife again. I do not care what it costs. I do not care if we have to start from scratch. We are getting out of here, somewhere he cannot reach us." For a moment, she just stared at me. Then her shoulders relaxed, as if she was finally releasing a breath she had been holding for months. That night, she started looking for apartments. I started making calls to organize the move. And all I could think about was how Ryan had taken everything from me since childhood. My childhood itself, my peace, my relationships. But Sophia, this was the end of the cycle. He would not take her. Not now, not ever. I was ready to erase him completely from my life, to never see his face or hear his name again. We had our new city, our fresh start. We were finally free. At least, that is what we thought. Just as we were starting to enjoy this peace, my cousin Megan called. Megan had been the only one to see right through Ryan. When they were kids, she caught him being cruel to her cat and told everyone. But my parents convinced the family she was lying for attention. She never forgot it. She called me personally to invite us to her wedding. I know my parents insisted, she admitted. But I hired security specifically to keep an eye on him. And you will be seated with my husband's family, far away from your parents. After 3 months of relative peace in our new city, we decided to go. Sophia had a new job she loved. I was working remotely. Everything was going well, and we felt solid enough to face my family for one day, especially with Megan's precautions. The ceremony went smoothly. Ryan was the best man for Megan's husband, Mark, my cousin from the other side of the family, who did not know the whole story. So he was busy most of the time. At the reception, we kept our distance, sitting with Mark's family while Ryan and my parents were on the other side of the room. For a few hours, it seemed like we might get through the day without an incident. Sophia was even laughing and dancing, which I had not seen in months. Around 9 p.m., Sophia went to the restroom. After 10 minutes, I noticed Ryan was no longer at his table. My gut screamed that something was wrong. I headed toward the restrooms, my heart pounding. As I turned the corner, I heard Sophia scream. I started running. Mark and his brother David were coming from the other direction and got there first. What I saw will be burned into my mind forever. Ryan had Sophia pinned against the wall outside the restrooms. One hand over her mouth, the other gripping her arms so tightly his knuckles were white. Her dress was torn at the shoulder. Mark and David forcefully pulled him off her as I arrived. Sophia stumbled toward me, trembling. There were already finger marks forming on her arm. Ryan's eyes were crazed and glazed over. He smelled strongly of alcohol. She has been looking for it all night, he stammered, following me around, coming on to me. I saw red. Before I even realized it, I was on him. I pinned him to the ground and hit him in the face so hard I felt something crack. The sickening sound of an injury, it did not matter. I wanted to stop him for good. He let out a strangled cry, but I did not stop. I pulled my fist back, ready to hit him again, when arms pulled me back. David, Mark, maybe both, were holding me back as I struggled. Caleb, stop. Mark's voice pierced through the fog of rage. We have got him. It is over. David, a police officer in another town, immediately called the local police. I took Sophia to a quiet room where Megan and her mom helped her calm down and clean up. When the cops arrived, my parents completely lost their minds. My mom physically tried to stop them from taking Ryan, screaming about a misunderstanding and saying this girl was obsessed with her son. My dad even tried to grab an officer's arm as they handcuffed him. Ryan switched behaviors like flipping a switch. One minute he was crying, saying Sophia had led him on. The next, he was threatening everyone, screaming that you do not understand what I am capable of. When they finally loaded him into the squad car, he yelled the most horrific things about Sophia, so vile that even the officers cringed. Several guests had pulled out their phones and filmed the whole thing. When the police car drove away, taking him out of our sight, I turned to Sophia. She was still shaking, arms wrapped tightly around herself as if to keep from falling apart. Her eyes were lost. I touched her gently. Sophia, my voice broke. I swallowed hard before continuing. Are you okay? Did he hurt you anywhere else? She did not answer right away, staring at the floor. Then she finally looked up, and I saw the fear, the betrayal, the exhaustion. I had brought her into this nightmare. I had let this happen. I took her face in my hands, brushing back the hair Ryan had messed up. I am so sorry, baby. My throat tightened. I should have protected you. I should never have let him near you. She shook her head. You did not do this, Caleb. He did. I wanted to believe it, truly, but the guilt burned deep inside me. I held her in my arms, feeling her body still racked with tremors. She was not just the woman I loved. She was my only real family, the only thing that mattered. And if anyone put a hand on her again, I would do anything to protect her. The days following the wedding were total chaos. My parents went on a crusade, calling the whole family to spread their twisted version of events. Thank God for the evidence. The video from Meghan's wedding clearly showed Ryan following Sophia to the restrooms. Numerous guests had heard him making inappropriate comments all evening. And of course, there were the videos of his arrest where he made his own situation much worse. Sophia and I were dealing with the legal fallout when my parents showed up at our house unannounced. They caused such a scene that our neighbors called the police. My mom cried, saying I was sending her baby to prison, while my dad threatened to have me blacklisted across the state, as if I cared about his connections. They alternated between guilt-tripping, "You are destroying the family," and threats to cut me off financially, even though I had not taken a dime from them in years. My mom even said, "After all we have done for you, this is how you repay us?" As if they were the victims in all this. A week after the wedding, I got a call from Meghan. Ryan had been denied bail due to the severity of the assault charges and his recorded threats. He was going to stay in jail until the trial, which could take months. Apparently, my parents were telling anyone who would listen that the justice system was biased against young men and that Ryan was the real victim in this whole story. Meghan also told me that several family members had taken our side after seeing the wedding videos. Even my uncle Robert, who had always been in Ryan's camp, called my parents delusional after seeing the footage of the incident and Ryan's arrest. That was 4 years ago. Since then, Sophia and I have built a beautiful life. We got married in a small ceremony with Meghan's family and Sophia's loved ones. Sophia became the head pediatric nurse at her hospital. I was promoted to senior developer. We bought a house, planted a garden, and made new friends. Sophia is now pregnant. A little girl due in 3 months. Life was good, normal, and peaceful. Then yesterday, my phone rang with an unknown number. It was my mom, crying so hard I could barely understand her. The story she sobbed out to me was insane. It turns out Ryan only served about 18 months for the incident at the wedding. His high-end lawyer had managed to get the charges reduced, and he was released for good behavior about 2 years ago. We knew nothing about it because we had completely cut ties with that side of the family. After his release, Ryan had apparently joined a church rehabilitation program where he met a woman named Sarah. According to my mom, the church had heavily promoted their relationship as some sort of redemption story, and they got married just 6 months after meeting. My parents and Sarah's family had all supported the marriage, thinking Ryan was reformed. Still, according to my mom, everything was perfect until last week when a co-worker of Sarah's called the police after not hearing from her for several days. The welfare check revealed Sarah had been seriously injured, with 2 broken ribs, a fractured wrist, and bruises. What was truly twisted was that during the investigation, they discovered my dad had been actively helping Ryan cover up the abuse for months. Every time Sarah threatened to leave, my dad intervened, threatening her job, pressuring her family about their mortgage, and convincing her parents she was unstable and making up stories. Apparently, when Sarah got a promotion that would have given her financial independence, a serious incident occurred and she could not go to work. When she called my dad for help, he told her to put some ice on it and remember her wedding vows. Ryan and my dad were both arrested. Ryan for domestic violence, my dad for witness intimidation and being an accessory. Since Ryan was still on probation from the situation with Sophia, he was now facing some serious time. "You need to come home," my mom begged. "The family needs to stick together in times of crisis. Your brother and your dad need your support." This Sarah is obviously exaggerating everything, just like Sophia did. For years and nothing had changed. "Mom," I said calmly, "have you ever considered that if you and Dad had disciplined Ryan when we were kids, maybe Sarah would not be in the hospital today?" She completely broke down, admitting they had always known Ryan had issues but thought they were protecting him. "It is too late for that," I replied before hanging up. Sophia suggested we reach out to Sarah through Meghan to offer our support. "She needs someone who understands what she is going through," Sophia said. A month later, Ryan took a plea deal, 8 years in prison. My dad's real estate license was suspended, and most of his business partners severed ties with him. My mom moved away and filed for divorce, sending me a long letter apologizing for everything, for protecting Ryan his whole life, for not defending me when I was a kid, and especially for how they treated Sophia. Too little, too late. That evening, As I watched Sophia talking to our unborn daughter while watering our garden, I felt no satisfaction in having been right about Ryan all these years, only the determination that the cycle ends with me. Our daughter will grow up knowing only love and respect. Ryan took a lot from me over the years, but he will not be able to take this, the life Sophia and I built together. Some people never change, but thanks to Sophia, I did. Comment. Hearing stories like this always reminds me how much courage it takes to walk away from toxic environments. We are often taught that loyalty to our relatives is absolute, but your first responsibility should always be your own safety and peace of mind. It takes immense strength to look at a broken generational cycle and decide that it ends with you. Walking away from people who refuse to respect your boundaries is never a sign of weakness. It is actually the ultimate act of self-love and self-respect. You cannot control how others behave or what they choose to believe in order to justify their actions. You can only control how you protect your heart and who you allow into your life. Building a beautiful and peaceful reality from scratch is one of the most powerful ways to heal from past trauma. I hope you always find the strength to prioritize your mental health and surround yourself with people who truly value you. Thank you for being part of this community and for sharing these meaningful lessons with me. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.